What's up, Fort Knox? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Riley Knox, back with another video. It's been a while, but I'm back, and we talk about so many things on this channel. We do DIY, we do decor and fashion, and behind the scenes of my performance career. And we also talk about transgender issues because I'm transgender. Today I wanted to talk about something that might be a little difficult for some people to hear, but it sparked because of a conversation that I had earlier with a friend of mine who just happens to be a cisgender heterosexual male. And he found a study online that said that sex workers, prostitutes is what they call them, discriminate against black men. And we talked about that, and that's a whole another conversation for another day, but we talked about it. And he was just like, even in that industry, like, black men are, because he's a black man, he couldn't understand why that was an issue. Even in that industry, it's like we're even discriminated there too. And I had to break down a lot for him, and somehow that conversation moved into trans women. Obviously, because his friend me is a trans woman, and why a lot of trans women, specifically of color especially, and throughout the trans community, find it hard sometimes, not everyone, to trust black men. So that friend of mine, the cisgender heterosexual black man, we got into this conversation, and it kind of got into like not an argument, but a very heavy debate, because obviously he's a black man and he feels some type of way about, you guys don't trust us, whatever, and not all men are like that, because just a handful of people. And I said, it's not just a handful of people. It keeps happening, especially with the trans community and being attacked by black men, and the transphobia that happens within the black community. And I had to explain to him, and this is the only analogy that I could give him to help him understand. There are a lot of black people who find it hard to trust white people simply because of historically the way that black people have been treated in this country by white people. Historically, personally, racism, all of that. So you're kind of asking someone to... So I can understand. Now, that doesn't mean that they feel that way about... There are some people that feel that way about all white people. I'm not saying it's right, and we definitely know that all white people are not racist. But you can understand why a certain group of people feel a certain way about another group of people who have historically persecuted them or have historically been anti what they are. And so... I think he kind of understood it a little bit, and I was just like, and I had to say to him, like, look, we know that all white people are not horrible, but there are black people who feel like I find it hard or difficult to trust white people, especially at first when I first meet them, because I don't know if they're going to be racist, whatever. So I'm not one of those people. I'm just saying there are people that feel that way. So I can understand, and I was trying to get him to, can't you understand why? Because of what's been happening recently, and also this is just getting filmed now, But I said, you can understand why so many trans women feel that way, and so many people of color feel that way, trans women of color feel that way about black men. And I think he kind of got it. I'm not sure if he got it or not, but he seemed to kind of, okay, I see it. But his biggest thing was, well, that's not everybody. I'm like, I'm not saying it's everybody, but that's just the gist of how I'm trying to get him to understand why people feel the way that they do. And I think, the first thing that we need to talk about is, in dating situations, you guys have heard me talk about, on this channel, how there are a lot of murders that have happened in the trans community, specifically with trans women of color, that have been murdered at the hands of black men. And, I talked about this before, but I'll say it again. Last year, 27 trans women of color, trans people of color, were killed at the hands of black men. Last year alone. This year, it's already, I think, after few days ago, I think 2 days ago. We're past the 30 mark. And as I'm making this video, we're on the 2nd day of September. So it's really a hard thing to talk about, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. And I think the first reason that I can say that not all Black men and not all transgender women but there are a lot of transgender women that find it hard to trust Black men simply because of those murders that happen, and probably also from experience. It has been a lot of trans women experience, and and honestly, I'm going to just speak personally from myself. I've dated every race, just about. I pretty much have, and predominantly Black men, and it's been the hardest to date Black men of color. What am I talking about? Black men. See, this is a hard video for me to do because I don't want to really step on any toes, and I don't want you guys to want it to come off as like, oh, you know, she hates Black men, and, you know, here we go with, you know, the Black, and honestly, with the Black Lives Matter movement that's happening right now, a lot of people have the issue with, you're talking about Black men, and right now we need to be rallying for the Black community and all this stuff, and I totally understand that. I get that, and we'll get to that towards the end of this video. I'm going to talk about that a little more also. But with my experience with dating Black men, I'm all tongue-tied today, I'm sorry. Dating Black men, it's been a lot harder because of the way that Black men were raised, and in the Black community, the stigma against being transgender or the LGBTQ community. It's been a lot harder for Black men to openly date trans women. And sometimes there have been situations where, you know, because of the way they feel about themselves and the way that they don't want to be perceived, they hide us. And even sometimes when they are hiding us, they tend to be, people have had experiences of abuse because sometimes when you're happy with yourself, you know, you take it out on the person that's closest to you. And sometimes that comes in the form of either physical abuse, verbal abuse. I'm not saying in every single case, I'm not saying it doesn't happen with the white men. I'm just saying that from the experience that trans women of color have had, that happens. We also, I want to remind you guys, I've talked about this before, what happened with the Ayana Dior, and then also what we saw happen with Eden the Doll and Jasleen and Jocelyn, what happened a few weeks ago. And then I watched a video where, you know, they're being, you know, attacked by Black men. And then I watched a video that was hard for me to get through. And my friend Isis King sent it to me, and because we send each other things over, you know, that we find on Instagram that are interesting, not just trans issues, but just things that are interesting. And this was trans women being attacked, and the people, just like with the Eden the Doll and Jasleen and Jocelyn situation, where they start filming, and they're filming, it's almost like they're filming for clout as they're attacking. It's like you're committing a crime, but you're now you're filming the people that you're attacking. It just didn't really make any sense. So there's a lot of that happening, and it just makes it, you know, I understand that you shouldn't hold, you know, a stereotype from one specific group of people, you know, one person doing something or a few people doing something, or even the majority of people, you hold it. But we tend to be a little bit more cautious. And, you know, I've talked about, you know, the whole dating thing, and I'll tag that video down below in the description, where I've talked about how I've dated guys and they wanted to keep me their dirty little secret. We've talked about that a lot on this channel, and it is a very hard thing, but it's a hard thing to say, but it has been predominantly Black men that have found it hard to be open and date. And a lot of trans women will tell you, we just don't have these issues a lot of times with men who are not of color. I will specifically say with Black men, because even with Hispanic men, sometimes it's a little bit easier. I'm not saying every single situation. I don't want to generalize this in a situation where you guys think I'm coming down on all Black men. The problem is, you know, we find it hard to trust black men because of the way historically we have been treated. And, you know, we have fought for black men. We've marched for black men. We are fighting right now, currently, for black men and for police brutality and the Black Lives Matter movement. And I've seen so many of my trans sisters out there fighting, so many black women fighting, so many, like, you know, and this isn't just the trans community, but I just happen to be a transgender woman of color. But we can also probably apply this to a lot of women of color who don't trust black men, the way that they're treated in relationships, or just the way that they treat us as women, period. And we are out there marching for black men, but where I just don't see, when we have the women's marches, I don't see black men in droves coming out to support the women. I also, and I'm very interested in this because I'm actually going to post this on my in a poll on my Instagram stories. I just found out that October 3rd is going to be the Trans March of Visibility. I wonder how many heterosexual cisgender men of color are going to be out there marching for us. It does not happen a lot. And it's really hard because, you know, we all want to get along. We all want to fight for each other. We all want to, you know, it sounds great. But the problem is we're expected to march for you, but we don't get the same reciprocation. It's really a hard thing. And, you know, I hate it. I hate that it's this way because I love my black men. I date black men. And we need to get to a point where trans women are able to trust black men again. And I really hope that we get to that point. I think, you know, we have to start the conversation. I think it's a conversation that men need to have amongst themselves. I think it's a conversation that, you know, the trans community and you know, heterosexual, cisgender black men have with each other also. But a lot of people just aren't willing to have that conversation. I think there are a lot of black men that do not want to have that conversation. It's a very sensitive subject. They don't want to have it. And then there's also a lot of, you know, trans women who just think it's counterproductive, like it's a lost cause. I don't think it's a lost cause. I hope it's not a lost cause. I hope that we are able to trust each other. I hope that, you know, the violence against trans women of color stops, especially at the hands of black men. I hope that we are able to, you know, be in the same rooms with each other and not tear each other down and not, you know, attack each other, whether it be verbally, physically, whatever. But it is a conversation that needs to be had. And it just sparked something within me. And I was like, I want to come on and talk to you guys about this. And I really want to hear from you guys in the comments. Like, really want to hear from you. What do you think about this subject? And I'm just the messenger. I'm not saying that, you know, don't trust black men. And I'm not saying, you know, like, oh, they're, you know, it's so problematic. I'm not saying one way or another how I feel. I'm just telling you from experience, and also with the girls that I've talked to and what I've seen, this could be the reason why we don't trust you guys. And, or why we find it so hard to trust you guys. And not all men. I have to keep saying that because I know someone in the comments is going to be like, oh, you're attacking, blah, 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 whatever. But I do want to hear from you guys what you think on this subject, whether you are a cisgender woman, whether you are someone who date men of color, whether you are a transgender woman. How do you feel about the fact that there are women and trans women, and I'm just speaking for myself specifically, being trans, that's why this was targeted more towards trans women, why we find it so hard to trust you guys or to trust men. And I want to hear from men too. If you're in the comment section, I don't know if a lot of, you know, black cisgender heterosexual men watch my channel. I don't know, but I would really like to hear on this subject because I think it's something that, you know, needs to be talked about. And I will talk about this in further videos, and so just stay tuned for that. As always, I thank you guys for watching. I definitely want to hear back from you guys. Please be kind to me and not attack me, but I want to hear what you think on this subject. But thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel already, please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you are informed to whenever I have new videos out. I love you guys for watching. Thank you.